You open your eyes and you're standing in the middle of a Roman gladiator arena. And before you get excited, no, you're not in the crowd. You're not eating grapes in a cushioned seat up top with a cup of wine and a nice view. You're on the sand, the actual sand, the stuff that's already a dark reddish brown color and it's only mid morning. You look around and 50,000 people are staring directly at you. They're screaming, they're happy about this. And you have no idea what you're holding because someone just handed you a short sword, a helmet that smells like someone else died in it, and a piece of leather strapped to your arm that wouldn't stop a strong wind, let alone what's coming through that gate. Let's back up, because before you can even process where you are, you need to understand how you got there. You didn't volunteer. Almost nobody volunteered. The vast majority of gladiators in ancient Rome were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. Captured soldiers from places like Gaul, Germania, or North Africa were shipped back to Rome, sold at auction, and handed over to a lanista. That's the man who owns the gladiator school. He paid money for you, which means he has a financial interest in keeping you alive just long enough to make that money back. That's the good news. The bad news is that the way he makes it back is by putting you in front of 50,000 Romans who want to watch something bleed. Welcome to the Ludus. That's the gladiator training school, and it is not a fun place to be. Your cell is a small stone box. It fits a sleeping mat and you, that's the whole room. You eat, sleep, and exist in this box when you're not training. The food is actually decent by ancient standards. Gladiators were fed a high-calorie diet of barley, beans, and dried fruit specifically to build a layer of fat over their muscles. Researchers studying gladiator skeletons found high levels of plant-based nutrition and calcium. They called them hordearii, barley men. Not exactly a nickname that strikes fear into anyone, but you ate more reliably than most Roman civilians did, so there's that. Training is where things get serious. You wake up before sunrise every single day. You drill with wooden weapons until your arms stop working and then you keep drilling. Your trainer, the doctor, watches every movement you make. And he's not there to encourage you. He's there because your technique is the difference between an entertaining fight and an embarrassing one. And embarrassing fights don't sell tickets. You practice footwork for hours. You learn how to absorb a hit without falling, because falling is how you lose. You spar with other men who are also trying very hard not to die, which means every practice session carries a real chance of broken fingers, cracked ribs, or a nose that points a new direction. Now, here's something people always get wrong about gladiators. They weren't just randomly hacking at each other. There were specific types, each with different weapons, armor, and fighting styles, and they were matched deliberately. A Retiarius fought with a net and a trident. Very little armor, very exposed. His whole strategy was to tangle his opponent and stab from a distance. Sounds clever until someone cuts your net, and now you're holding a fishing tool against a guy in full plate. The Secutor was designed specifically to fight the Retiarius. Heavy helmet, curved shield, short sword. He moved slow, but his armor was built to deflect a trident. These matchups were engineered. The crowd loved watching specific styles clash. It was a sport with rules, specialists, and regular competitors, which somehow makes it worse. The day of your fight arrives and you're taken through the underground tunnel beneath the arena. The Colosseum had an entire network under the sand called the hypogeum. Elevators, trapdoors, animal cages, storage for props and equipment. The whole structure was a machine designed to produce spectacle. You can hear the crowd above you through the stone. It sounds like a storm that doesn't stop. Someone greases your armor. Someone else checks your weapon. There's a smell down here that is genuinely difficult to describe. Animal waste, torch smoke, blood, and fear. Mostly fear. The gate opens, and the noise hits you. Before the light does, 50,000 people make a sound that is less like cheering and more like physical pressure. You walk out onto the sand and the sun is brutal. The arena is massive. Even the people in the cheap seats at the very top are craning their necks to see you. The sand under your feet is loose and uneven. It's packed down in some spots and soft in others. People have died on this exact patch of ground and the sand was raked over them, and that's what you're standing on right now. Your opponent walks out from the other side. Do you want the bad news or the worst news? The bad news is he's bigger than you. The worst news is he's been doing this for 4 years and the crowd is already chanting his name. He raises his weapon and the crowd gets louder. You raise yours and there's a polite swell of noise from whatever section bought tickets hoping you'd win. You have about 3 seconds to remember everything you trained for because this has already started. Here's the actual survival breakdown they don't tell you. Most gladiatorial fights did not end in death. That's the part modern movies got completely wrong. Killing a gladiator was expensive. You just destroyed someone the lanista paid good money to train and equip. The crowd actually preferred a well-fought match to a quick execution. Studies of ancient graffiti and mosaics suggest roughly 1 in 5 or 6 fights ended in a fatality, not every single one. A fighter who lost could signal submission, usually by raising a finger or dropping his weapon, and then the crowd and the editor, the man sponsoring the games, decided the outcome. If you fought well and the crowd liked you, there was a real chance you walked out. The crowd, though, is not neutral. They came here with opinions. They have favorites. They've watched dozens of these fights and they know the difference between a scared man swinging wildly and a skilled one controlling the distance. If you panic, they'll know. If you back up too much, they'll boo. There's a specific Latin word Romans used for a gladiator who fought without spirit. They called him ignominiosus, shameful. And a shameful fighter didn't get much sympathy from the editor when the decision came, so the pressure isn't just physical. You have to perform while someone is trying to stab you. That's the whole job. Assuming you survive your first fight, you go back to your cell. A doctor treats your wounds with whatever Roman medicine had available, which included honey as an antiseptic, wine as a disinfectant, and herbs that may or may not have done anything useful. Your ribs will heal wrong. There's a cut on your shoulder that's going to leave a scar. You eat your barley, you sleep in your box, and tomorrow the training starts again. A successful gladiator could earn prize money, gifts from fans, and eventually the Ludus, a wooden sword given as a symbol of freedom. Some champions became celebrities. Women threw things at them in the street. Rich patrons invited them to dinner. There were gladiator fan clubs, actual fan clubs. Carved into the walls of Pompeii are graffiti tributes to specific fight. That's the way people write about athletes today. The average career, if you survived, lasted somewhere between 3 and 5 years. Some fought into their 30s, a few retired wealthy, most retired with permanent injuries, missing teeth, damaged joints, and a very specific kind of expression that comes from spending years wondering if today was the last day. The ones who got the wooden sword and walked out free had genuinely earned something. Not because anyone was being kind to them, because they were skilled enough, tough enough, and lucky enough to still be standing after all of it. So back to you on that sand. The gate just closed behind you. The crowd is still screaming. Your opponent is already moving sideways, reading your stance, calculating your weak side. You've had maybe 6 months of training. He has 4 years. Your helmet smells like someone else's last bad day. The sand is softer on your left, which you just noticed, and you're already breathing harder than you should be. Everything you know about this moment is that the next few minutes are going to be the longest of your life, and the only thing standing between you and either a wooden sword someday or a fresh layer of sand is whatever you do right now.